Major earthquake. In the early morning hours of January 7th of 2025, a major earthquake struck a section just north of the border area between China and Nepal. At 9:05 a.m. local time, this earthquake occurred, waking many, which registered in as a magnitude 7.1. As the ground rapidly shook back and forth for upwards of 20 seconds, items fell off of shelves, building cracked, and many structures partially or completely collapsed. Ground shaking, at its most severe, was measured at its peak to be equal to 25%, the acceleration due to gravity, translating to a temporary acceleration of 2.45 meters or 8.04 feet per second squared. Many landslides also occurred, which makes perfect sense given the severity of the earthquake. Relatively shallow epicenter of 10 kilometers or 6.221 miles, an absurdly rugged topography of the local Himalayas where this occurred. Also, since many of the closest towns and villages to the epicenter were constructed on top of alluvial plains, composed of eroded sedimentary and metamorphic rocks from nearby mountains, this naturally amplified the severity of shaking by 50 to 400%. What it would had been had structures instead been built upon hard, young igneous rocks. The reason for this is that when the damaging key earthquake waves pass through objects, the amplitude of these waves changes depending on the rock units they interact with. If these seismic waves speed up, such as through a granite outcrop, their amplitude drops, but if they pass through sediments, their speed slows and amplitude greatly increases. In other words, the same two houses 100 meters apart from each other, but underlain by granite on the left and a thick, loosely sorted sand and gravel on the right, would experience vastly different damage, even if the earthquake was centered precisely 40 kilometers away. Damage estimates. Because of this, the US Geological Survey model of casualties and economic damage suggested an 80% chance that between 1 and 765 deaths and between 32 million and 10 billion US dollars worth of damage had been caused by this fairly brief but damaging seismic event. I did my own analysis, and based on the existing minimum reports of damage, which is most widespread in China, but also exists to a lesser extent in Nepal and India, I suggest that at least 125 million US dollars worth of damage has occurred. This includes more than 1,000 damaged or destroyed structures in Tibet, a dozen structures damaged in Nepal, and a half dozen in India.